Hello，大家好啊！歡迎收睇喺排位後嘅吹水站啊！2023年一個方程式格蘭披治咧就已經係正式咧就開始咗啦。我哋就經過咗今轉嘅排位之後咧，一如以往啊，結果咧都係紅牛啦，就係排翻頭位嘅。韋斯塔本第一啦，佩雷斯第二啦，第三位嘅就係陸克萊，第四位嘅咧就係新獅仔。睇下啲聲啊、剩啊嗰啲 O 唔 OK 先。大家可能要俾啲反應我啦。我睇下大家啲留言啦。Ken Chan 啊就 Hi，亦都有咧就係呢一個嘅吹狗你就 Yo，Hello。至於咧就有朋友咧亦都就係阿 Mick 咧就話 Sharp Cut 後嘅吹水站。至於咧亦都有朋友咧就係話喂，首先講下點解被 cut 聲先啊。Ghost 就話我冇嘅，呢個係即係邊佢哋嗰個嘅 programming 應該唔係香港負責，咁可能一開始就係咁樣咁。我諗如果大家有睇開邊嗰啲其他節目，應該唔係淨係得 F1 嘅，其他都係咁啊。所以其實就我都預唔到佢原來係咁樣 cut 法，所以就嚇一嚇啦。跟住之後咧，有巴達烏就話丹生你好啊。至於咧亦都有啲朋友啊 Kelvin 咧就話零磚。至於638啲聲咧就唔 OK 啊，完得咧就好突然啊。呢一個 Silming to me 就話OK 啦。至於就Hallos 咧 Hollis 咧就話 OT 幫唔使 OT 嘅。多謝大家今日捧場啊。我哋話咁快咧就已經有接近1000人睇啦。啱啱睇緊朋友咧，希望即刻咧就幫手 like 啦、share 啦、subscribe 啦，同埋撳鐘仔。我哋喺教嘅時間咧，亦都會咧就係請嚟一位嘅特別嘉賓啊。喺今季嘅開始頭炮啦，有23場排位啦。喺 YouTube 呢一度咧就會同大家做吹水站嘅排位之後，而到正式比賽之後嘅吹水站咧就會喺 At Dan on the Move 嘅 Patreon 嗰邊咧同大家見面嘅。如果大家想去睇下嘅話咧，即管去睇下啦。因為喺嗰個嘅 Tier 1嘅朋友咧已經咧就係可以係睇到賽後嘅吹水站。今日咧我哋呢一個 YouTube 嘅吹水站咧有位特別嘉賓，陣間咧將會請嚟咧就係 F1TV 嘅 Technical Analyst 啊，技術分析員咧就係阿 Scarbs 啊。Craig Scarborough。亦都大家可以喺呢一個 Twitter 咧就 follow 佢啦，就係 @scarbstech 啊。陣間咧就會嚟到我哋呢個節目嗰度咧現身說法啊。同大家咧就係去拆解下2023年嘅乜嘢啊，就梗係講下 tech 嘢啦。所以咧，如果有啲朋友係中意聽 tech 嘢嘅、問嘢嘅，記得咯。幫手咧就係 share 俾佢哋 like 啦、share 啦、subscribe 啦，同埋撳鐘仔。之後咧亦都咧就有朋友課金喎。多謝咧就係呢一個 Kenneth 姐嘅綠色嘅課金啦。Hi， 你好啊。啲朋友中唔中意而家呢一個 set 啊？掂唔掂啊 ？OK 啊？真係俾啲意見我讚下嘛，鬧都得嘅。跟住阿 Hulk 咧亦都有多謝咧，就係你呢一個綠色嘅課金。OK。至於咧就係阿 Jenny Dan 咧就問麥記睇嚟係咪未開季已完結？如果大家已經有留意我喺一日前喺 IG Mr. Dan 91出嗰個嘅其中一個 story 咧，就引述咗阿羅利斯講咩？佢就話喂，去到阿塞拜疆嘅 update 咧，應該都未必得啊！要好多 update 咧，先至有機會爭第四。其實唔好話爭第四啦 ，Alpine 而家都俾人逼咗落第5啦。呢個就係我正話臨尾想做總結嘅時候。Alpine 咧，我喺上去倫敦同佢哋去睇佢哋個 launch 嘅時候，參與 A523個 launch 嘅時候啦，其實咧就佢哋話希望保4之餘咧就拉近同第3名嘅關係同埋第3名嘅距離。而家咧睇落去咧就已經俾 Aston Martin 攝咗個第4或者第3，然後 Alpine 咧就俾人逼咗第5啦喺現階段，因為 Alpine 咧同第3、第4嘅平治同 Aston Martin 都爭咗0.6啊！點追啊？喂，大佬0.6去邊度揾啊？0.6係等於呢一個地球同火星嘅距離嚟㗎啦，唔係真係咁容易咧，就係搞掂啊！咸美頓咧就 check wing 咧就call 翻咸美頓咧就話平治嘅設計錯誤。佢就話 wrong direction 啦。之前有講過啦，話 wrong direction 嘅。wrong direction 之後咁可以點算咧？跟住阿 Louis 咧就問啦，係咪真係阿 Craig 上嚟咧？係真係阿 Craig 上嚟嘅。我而家就喺我呢邊咧就撳咗睇下。睇下 Craig 幾時咧？大家有冇嘢要問嘅話咧，嗱，你等等啊，因為我啲 message 太多啊，我哋而家已經有接近1200人睇緊。不如咁啊，我就希望大家幫手咧，就係 like 啦、share 啦、subscribe 啦，同埋撳鐘仔。而家有1000幾人睇緊，但係個 like 數咧，只不過咧就係得呢一個嘅係300幾個 like 嘅啫。大家幫手。我要求唔多，因為尋日咧我喺做呢一個自由議嘅時候，都過2000人同時睇緊啦。今日脆脆地啦嚇，今日冇現場嘅比賽，我哋就不如咁啊，同步如果谷到上去，幫手谷上去。幫我散出去好冇？ 幫手散出去，上到1500嘅話，咁我就叫阿 Craig 入嚟，咁跟住就喂，即係人多啲開心啲啊嘛，係咪？咁啊嗱，呢度幫手散出去啊！咁啊，跟住咧就有朋友咧就係話呢個人頭咧就係蒙過呢一個720係嘛？咁我搞佢啦，下次搞佢啦。咁啊，至於咧就係亦都有 Andy Wong 咧，咁啊多謝你啦，見字飲水啊，咁啊就係黃色嘅課金，多謝晒。咁啊，至於就係 Fernando is faster than you 咧，亦都咧就係有朋友留言啊，呢個咧就係 HIMXO 啊，就喺度。咁我哋一經過呼籲之後咧，已經咧就係嘭嘭聲咧就係去咗1250啦，啊講緊個人數。咁啊，跟住之後咧，亦都咧就係FMBC 咧就話大癲，咁啊請到咧就係阿 Craig 咧就係上嚟。咁啊至於就亦都有其他朋友異地效應咧就係玩 floor 啊。咁啊呢個係邊個留言咧？呢個咧就係 Cartia RCM 嘅留言。咁啊異地效應就係玩 floor 啊，點會仲 cut 細佢㗎咁樣？咁啊如果你講緊應該就係嗰個平治啦，我估計。咁平治佢哋要解決嘅其中一樣嘢咧，就係佢哋嘅 floor 咧上年就太坦蕩蕩啊。咁啊結果咧嗰個嘅坦蕩蕩得滯，咁啊結果就令到咧佢嗰個嘅幅度啊喐動嘅幅度咧就係太大，所以咧就係中咗伏，咁變咗就冇計啦。咁啊佢哋就做咗其他嘅嘢啦。咁啊但係如果你係講賽例嘅話咧，咁賽例同樣都有。咁我哋見到咧就係 K&N 啊，咁啊就係話1500，咁啊呢度咧就算啦。咁啊其實如果唔得嘅話，我其實約咗佢大概10分鐘之後嘅，咁啊睇下大家啊盡搞啦。咁啊同步 concurrent， 如果能夠1500人嘅話，就即刻咧就係撳佢入嚟啦。咁啊阿 George 咧就問，咁啊阿 George 就問點樣睇哈士個 pacing。其實哈士個 pacing 咧就唔出奇嘅，真係唔出奇，因為佢哋喺冬天嘅時候已經講過一樣嘢，已經講過一樣嘢係咩嘢咧？講過一樣嘢就係、法拉利副引擎有料到。勁過火箭，呢、個就應該係我估計佢哋拍 Netflix 嘅時候啊，或者 whatever 啦，應該係佢同阿 Marty 入邊嗰圖吹開水嘅時候，然後咧就係聽到啲嘢，咁所以咧佢哋兩個就吹翻出嚟嘅。喺12月1月嘅時候已經吹緊㗎啦。咁啊當然你吹嘅就信佢一成啦，係嘛？如果唔係就雙目失明啦。咁但係咧係法拉利嘅引擎係再進一步咯，比起舊年。咁如果你話法拉利引擎再進一步，佢嘅底盤融合已經經過第一年融合都咁好，咁第二年自不然嗰個協同效應就會係進一步被放大出嚟。咁啊，跟住之後咧，亦都就所以我覺得佢嗰個 pacing 對於我嚟講係唔出奇嘅。咁但係我亦都直接認啦，就係 Aston Martin 突然之間一跳到上嚟，係同平治同一個 grading 咧係出奇嘅。你從嗰個時間去比咧，其實1同2啦，至少喺今日巴林嘅排位咧分得幾遠㗎。紅牛咧基本上喺 Q pace 咧係自成一角㗎，29秒8。就係佢哋嘅水平啦。咁跟住之後或者29秒7啦，因為其實韋少29秒7噶嘛。咁然後阿六仔咧就慢0.3，企喺30秒。然後之後第3、第4咧再慢0.3，即係落後頭車0.6。跟住先至落到嚟 L 編，咁啊 L 編麻煩啦。L 編落後頭車1.2，但係落後第3同第4嘅 Aston Martin 同埋平治咧係0.6秒。呢度真係唔知你去邊度揾啦。咁唔知去邊度揾翻嗰0.6秒？要睇下佢之後嗰啲嘅安排點，因為 L 編今場其實已經有更新㗎啦，已經有個新頭產，亦都有個新嘅尾擔嘅 Aero 嘅安排。咁就已經係有更新擺出嚟。咁只要佢哋 keep 得翻舊年嗰個幾乎每場都有更新嘅話咧，L 編追上嚟係唔出奇。但係 L 編追上嚟係咪真係好似佢哋想追近第3咧？如果佢真係要追近第3嘅話咧，咁佢哋就至少要解決係講緊0.6秒啦。咁你追到0.6秒嘅話咧，就就會搞掂咯。咁我而家同阿 Craig 喺度 message 緊啊。你等等啊，咁我而家就話俾佢啲 anytime，you OK 啊，跟住咧我好啦，咁啊就睇下佢幾時 ready 啦吓，咁啊跟住咧就睇下其他人嘅留言啦。咁我哋都接近咧就係有1500人喺度睇緊啊，咁啊多謝大家捧場。轉頭咧我哋有一位嘅特別嘉賓喺我哋嘅呢一條 YouTube feed 入邊咧會見到嘅。咁啊佢咧就係 F1TV 嘅 technical analyst 啦，就係 Craig Scarborough 啊。咁啊大家可以去佢個 Twitter 嗰度 follow 佢啦。咁啊就係 @scarbs 啊，咁啊@scarbstech。咁啊陣間咧就會我而家話俾佢聽啦。咁啊睇下佢幾時 ready 啦。我同佢講聲先嚇。 Hey Scarbs, I'm already doing the live stream, and you just click on the link, and I'll see you, and then put you on screen if you are ready. Yeah, just let me know. Thank you. I'll see you anyway if you just lock yourself in. Cheers. 係啦，咁啊呢個咧就係真真正正 live 咧就同佢溝通啦，咁啊之前就同佢夾咗啦，咁啊跟住咧亦都多謝咧就係呢個 David 松啦，咁啊有咧就係呢一個黃色嘅課金，咁啊至於咧就跛都搞得掂啊，咁啊跟住咁又點睇咧？咁啊呢個咧就係 Cartier 嘅問題，咁啊正我記得答過 Cartier 嘅問題嘅咯，咁啊陣間咧亦都就可以係再答啦吓，咁啊轉頭先至再答。咁啊，啱啱咧 Craig 你都已經覆咗啦。OK，we'll join shortly。跟住我就覆翻佢啦。No worries，take your time。因為都係咁啊。嗱，陣間咧就自不然啦。Craig 上咗嚟嘅話，咁我哋就英文對答啦。咁我亦都話俾佢知㗎啦。咁啊，我哋就一個廣東話嘅節目，香港觀眾。咁啊，大家咧就展現下你哋香港人嘅熱情啦。唉呀，真係你好香港啦，係時候可以發揮出嚟啦。咁啊，大家咧就即係等佢覺得一個賓至如歸嘅感覺啦，好冇？咁啊 Wing E Ho 咁啊就問咗一個問題啊 Wing E Ho 咧就係點解 AMR23可以打敗平治？我諗而家係全世界都問緊嘅同一個問題，因為我尋日去做 live 嘅時候，我都有同大家講啦，即係風水佬呃你10年8年，我哋咧即係講車佬或者係講波佬咧，可能呃你10日8日或者10個字8個字嘅啫。咁啊係啦，跌咗個眼鏡㗎啦，因為我的而且確係冇諗過咧，佢係可以懟冧平治嘅。咁雖然睇咗好多嘅報道，亦都有好多車手，甚至連咸美頓自己都係話咧，佢哋個 long 重油 pacing 咧已經喺平治之上啦。呢個就咸美頓之後講，我亦都有喺 Now 638嘅節目入邊話俾大家知啦。咁但係即係你始終你係未能夠 OK 咸爺講，咁基本上都要信啦，係咪？咁仲有其他人車手都講過，但係你真係見到發生嘅時候咧，你覺得哇！咩世界啊咁所以咧，如果大家想知點解咧，好難一句半句解晒嘅。大家只要聽翻我喺 YouTube 放咗出嚟，早前 Patreon 1月同大家拆解過嘅節目咧，你就會知道喺背後咧，其實過去呢段時間啦，Aston Martin 做咗好多嘢。佢哋喺嗰個人才規劃當中咧，係揾咗好多人翻嚟。咁譬如正話喺 live 嘅時候有同大家提過嘅呢一個 Eric Blondin 啦，咁啊亦都有同大家提過就係 Dan Fallows 啦，兩個紅牛同埋平治嘅氣動力策略大師啊，係氣動力工程大師啊，都由平治同埋紅牛叫咗過嚟。咁所以咧，我覺得人才叫咗過嚟係其中一個係底蘊嘅原因咯。咁再加上一個好關鍵嘅原因，我諗咗嘅，而家可以答咗大家先。我未聽到其他嘅。即係其他人做乜唔理啦，咁總之咧，我就會覺得係，因為你而家咁樣比咧，唯有去比較就應該係比較 Aston Martin 比起平治其實係多幾多嘅氣動力研發咧。其實 Aston Martin 比起法拉利係多25%嘅氣動力研發，而比起呢一個嘅平治咧係多20%嘅氣動力研發，再加埋係將紅牛嘅氣動力左右手同埋平治嘅氣動力左右手咧係挖咗過嚟。我諗呢仲要唔係一段時間喎，咁佢之前啲成績都唔好噶嘛，就即係話佢過去嗰1年啦、1年半咧，其實就喺後邊密密追咁樣，咁再加上嚟到第二季嘅時候，有啲嘢佢哋可以抄嘅都抄咗，跟手之後咧就係哎呀，呢個係我預計唔到嘅情況。咁咧就因為呢個嘅，咁啊有趣啦！我而家即刻輕個機個人，你等我一陣，我而家要輕，就係有一個狀態出現咗啊！有一個狀態咧就係一個好嚴重嘅問題。而家係幾點？好，我即刻 dead 咗 air，因為而家呢個係要首先解決咗件事先嘅，所以大家唔好怪我啊。好，咁啊，我哋咧就而家咧我哋就係已經喺度啦。 Hi, Craig. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Daniel?
I'm great. Thank you very much. I would just like to make an introduction to you and please welcome the F1 technical analyst from F1TV, Craig Scarborough. So how do you like the qualifying, or you just say hi to all the audience here, because we have like over 1,500 of Hong Kongers watching our feed right now on YouTube.
Qualifying was fantastic. I can't remember a session that was so much fun. You just didn't know what was going to happen. And I think certainly in Q1 with the red flag, which seemed a bit excessive, but certainly shook everything up, all the way through to that final session when quite a lot of cars didn't do a second run. So, yeah, I think it leaves as many questions as it answers, because we weren't sure who was going to get pole and what order the teams were going to shake out in.
Yeah, I'll do a short Cantonese translation, and then I'll come back to you and open the floor to the questions by the audience rather than from me. All right, and we'll focus on the questions about 2023 technical regulations, what are new and stuff, and that would probably be our flow。咁正話咧，其實亦都就阿 Craig 咧有同大家講過啦，就係話喺呢一場嘅比賽入邊咧，其實佢未見過咧 Q1、2、3都咁緊湊啦。咁Q1入邊咧，大家都可能做咗一轉之後，基本上就已經冇第二轉嘅係節目出現，即係冇第二轉嘅係排位出現。咁所以佢自己咧就覺得好緊湊，同埋係相當之嘅精彩啊。咁we can see that there are so many audience saying hi to you, including do you see the message, Craig? Yeah or no? What
Yeah,
did you
I'm
see?
still here. I'm struggling to hear you a little. Say again, Daniel. Sorry.
No, I'm wondering what screen do you see? Do you see the messages from the audience?
No, I'm just seeing a picture of you and me at the moment.
All right, okay. And no worries, I'll read out the message, and so that you know there are so many people supporting you in Hong Kong, from Hong Kong. And Fog Ricky says, hi, Craig. And then Quadruple X says, hello, Craig. And Terence Zhang and Anthony Lai. And also there is a guy named Craig, but the surname is Yu. So Craig saying cheers to Craig. Okay, we have like around 1,600 audience watching this YouTube live stream all together, and yeah, it's my bad. I should have sent you the YouTube link so that you know you could open another screen and watch it. So we have one question from our audience. I'll just put it out here to you. It's from Soul Ray, and he asked, "Hi Rick, do you think Alonso outperforms the Aston Martin car?"
It's too early to say, but I would say no. I think the Aston Martin car is very good. I think that's the thing that we've learned from this. Alonso, you could argue when the car's working in the way he likes, he will outperform that car. But I think that the big story here is how much the Silverstone team have improved that car over the winter. And they've outdeveloped McLaren and Alpine and a number of other teams. Mercedes, you could argue at this stage. So yeah, I think it's very much the car. But I think all we can say is that Alonso is outperforming Stroll. But I think none of us probably expected anything different.
I'll do the Cantonese translation for a bit。其實基本上咧，阿 Craig 咧就係話佢唔認為咧係 outperform 咗架車啦，同埋其實喺呢個階段咧，你要去咁樣去判斷咧係稍為言之尚早。咁我諗基本上，如果大家認為言之尚早，其實亦都係無可厚非嘅。點解咧？就因為始終都係得一場嘅 data 啦。所以其實就冇需要咧，就係 go through 得太過太過嘅overthink 嘅，即係唔需要 overthink 嘅。We have another question from our audience. This is a question from John Ho. He says, "Hi Greg, I like the F1 Tech Talks and often follow your Twitter. I have some tech questions which I can't read." and then it ends. So what was his question? 嗱呢度咧，我哋就個問題咧就 kick 咗喺度啊，變咗咧就我要再跳一跳啦。Sorry for the flow, because this is the first time that I'm trying to manage a program bilingually. so I'm trying my best. Sorry, mate.
No
and
problem.
From maybe this question. Okay, now I see it from John Ho. He asked, pull rod or push rod? You always say that such are just aero packages, but some teams, Ferrari and Alpine, switch back to rear push rod this season, and pull rod really has more disadvantage. Well, I mean, he is asking if pull rod is actually having more disadvantage, or is it just a way to fight porpoising?
Yeah, this is a common question. And first of all, thanks for John for following me on all my different platforms. It's much appreciated. No, from my point of view, there is not an advantage of pull rod over push rod or the other way around. They both work just in slightly different ways, and each of them have some small gains and small losses. Push rod works very well at the front because it gives good accessibility. It works with the aerodynamics, but it does have a slightly higher center of gravity. You've got pull rod, which is a lower center of gravity, but can actually add overall weight because of some quite technical things with the way the wishbones work. So there is no difference. It's just what the team find the best package for either at the front or the back. And, we're not talking about this as being even a primary or a secondary area of performance. It's just a nice, tidy way of packaging the car for other reasons. So never get hung up on push rod or pull rod. It's not important.
Yeah. 咁我而家咧就用翻廣東話咧就同大家講一次先啦。I'll do this a little bit in Cantonese, and then I think the main point is that don't dwell over push rod and pull rod. In short, right? Because they have their own benefits, and it depends on what the team wants to achieve in the front, at the front or at the back, right? 咁啊呢一位即係F1TV 嘅技術分析師咧，阿 Craig 咧就話咁啊，其實大家唔好太過執着咧，就係喺 pull rod 啦，或者咧就係 push rod。咁譬如就算今季你會見到有啲車隊喺個車尾嗰度用咗筷子啦，用咗 push rod 啦，其實都唔代表啲乜嘢嘅。咁因為佢哋各有各好啦，亦都各有各唔好。咁問題就係嗰個車廠或者嗰個車隊，佢哋想喺個頭擔，即係個 front suspension 同個尾擔，即係個 rear suspension 當中咧，其實係想 achieve 啲乜嘢嘢，而 rather than 咧就係斟酌於咧呢一個字㗎。We'll go back to the questions again, Craig. I would like to draw your minds and ask you about, can you tell us the three biggest technical rule changes in 2023, so that our audience would learn a bit from you? I'll translate that question, and then I'll ask you to answer that question in English, please. 呢個時間咧，我哋轉頭再問阿 Craig 嘅。咁點解咧？因為咁難得請到 Craig 上嚟咧，其實我哋都想聽下佢想講啲咩嘢。咁所以咧，我哋就問佢咧，2023年喺佢嘅角度當中咧，究竟有啲乜嘢嘅大改例係佢認為係三大技術改例咧 ？Well, now Craig, what are the biggest from your perspective? Because everybody is talking about the 15mm floor edge race and etc. But from your perspective, what are the three biggest rule changes in 2023?
Well, for me, the biggest rule change was the floor change, as you mentioned. So the floor edge, which is just the very outermost part of the floor, has been raised by, I think it's 10 millimeters, in a slight taper up there, which just stops the floor hitting the track as the car moves around. And this was as in response to the porpoising that teams had last year. So it's just to try and stop the car touching the ground quite as much. Now, some teams will still run the car very low. Some teams like Mercedes, we can see at the moment, running the car very high. That's going to be the biggest change, but I think the team have managed to conquer that over the winter straight away. Secondly, you've got the roll hoop. So we saw the big crash last year at Silverstone for the Alfa Romeo, where the roll hoop snapped off. And they've just had to make that slightly stronger, change the radius at the top of the roll hoop. Again, every team would have had some changes to make in this respect, and it hasn't really affected Alfa Romeo as much as a lot of people would have predicted. And then probably lastly, in something that we won't see at the moment, but will start to come as we go through the season, is change to the brakes, which wasn't announced in the regulations. It was quite late. So the brake pads that squeeze the brake disc, historically, they get very hot, just like the disc does. They glow red hot. And previously, you've been able to make holes in them to help them cool down. And you can't do that this year. So what will happen is the brake pads will get very hot, will wear quicker. So we could have races in hot weather with lots of braking where we will start to see brake failures this year, potentially.
Is it just the front or all four wheels, all four brakes?
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Say again.
Oh, does it apply to the all four brakes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all four. Yeah.
All four. Yeah, I'll just translate a little bit. Three main points. I'll just recap because I don't want to misinterpret you.
No.
All right. The first one would be the floor changes. The second one would be the roll
Yeah.
hoop, and the third one would be the brake, right? Brake
That's
pad,
right, yeah.
to be honest.
嗯
我而家用翻廣東話咧，就係同大家講翻正話 Craig 咧就係有三大嘅改例啦。咁其實唔止三大嘅，因為有好多嘅。I'm just saying there are actually so many little changes here and there. So that's why we are just mentioning the three most important that you think we should pay attention to in 2023。咁啊，呢三大嘅改變咧，第一個咧就我正話提過嘅 floor 側跟嗰個 edges 嘅改變啦，就係升高咗咧，就係大概15mm 左右啦。咁呢個最主要咧就係希望可以咧係改善 porpoising 嘅問題。咁以我嘅理解咧，改善 porpoising 嘅問題咧就唔係能夠 eliminate porpoising。It's not really for eliminating porpoising as far as I know. It's just delaying the process of porpoising. If I'm correct, Craig。咁所以就係 delay 嗰個嘅 porpoising 而唔係 eliminate 嗰個 porpoising 啦。咁第二樣嘢就係 roll hoop 啦。That's really because of the problem or the accident of 周冠宇。咁啊喺上一年嘅時候，周冠宇嗰個意外啦，然後佢嗰個車反咗啦，反咗之後，刮咁樣咧就刮咗個地下，然後就有條痕出嚟。咁所以嗰個 roll hoop 成個嘅格局啦，嗰個着力點啦，同埋嗰個可承受嘅重量咧，都係進化咗。It's really for safety，係希望咧就係改善咧就係成架車嘅安全設計。咁然後有第三個咧就係正話阿 Craig 提過啦，佢話其實而家好多人都未講嘅 ，it's not really mentioned and it's not really in the what it is in the regulation, but I haven't really read it in the most
it's not in the published regulations. No.
Yeah. All right. OK。咁啊，直頭咧未 public 添㗎。Craig 同我哋講話，咁我哋有啲最新嘅消息啦。咁希望大家亦都留言咧，就係 Thank you Craig 啦。#Thank you Craig so that we know something that is not in the public domain yet。咁啊，多謝佢咧，就係為我哋咧係講咗一啲咧，就係我哋而家喺 public domain 都睇唔到嘅嘢，就係嗰個嘅 brake pad 咧。以往嚟講個 brake pad 係可以轉啲窿啦，然後等佢咧就係去散熱嘅。咁但係而家咧就係規定咗咧，今年咧係唔可以再轉窿，唔可以再轉窿咧，就譬如去到一啲熱嘅場地嘅時候咧，就會令到嗰啲車咧係更加容易個 brake pad 咧係會 overheat， 從而就會影響咗個戰車表現咯。咁啊，哇 ，a round of applause, although it's only just me here, a round of applause to Craig, because I didn't know that, and I am always happy to learn something. So thanks very much. Probably okay. We have loads of messages. #Thank you Craig. Thank you Craig. I think I should just send you the YouTube link so that you could actually read the message and you can try to.
We'll do that next time.
Yeah, next time. All right. And I'll just pop up a question. It's from a lady. Her name is Rachel Kane, I think. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, or Rachel Tai. She said, "Hi Craig. Do you think Aston Martin has already put the best version of the car on track already, and there will not be much room for further improvement and upgrade?"
Good question. Thank you, Rachel. In my opinion, they have already put out their best version of the car. And I'll just explain why I think that. I don't think that they are planning to bring a big update like perhaps Mercedes and McLaren are going to do. So this is already the best car. I think there is still room in that car for lots of development. There's lots of work around the floor that they can work on, and some changes around the front wing. But really, I think they've come out with a very good car straight away. And it's going to be interesting to see how that develops through the year. They've got a lot of aero testing allowance. And the question remains then is how much cash budget do they have?
So you think this is already the best version at this point, right? But you think there should be more room, especially for the aero quota. But whether the cash is here, that's another question, right?
Exactly.
OK， 咁我哋首先咧亦都多謝翻咧就係 Rachel 嘅問題啦。咁啊，正話 Craig 答嘅咧就係話，基本上咧佢已經相信依架就係佢哋有嘅最好嘅戰車嚟嘅。咁但係大家唔好忘記咧，即係我都同大家講過啦，其實咧就係 Aston Martin has like 25% more of the percentage more than Ferrari and 20% more than the Mercedes。咁呢個正話 Craig 亦都有最後再講翻同一樣嘢啦，就係佢哋多一啲嘅研發限額。但係有另外一個 point 咧，我自己未諗過嘅咧，就係佢正話提嘅咧，就係 there is another point that you mentioned, which actually skipped my mind, is actually where is the money? Is the money really here? 咁Craig 提出嚟嘅就係咁，究竟係咪真係有錢喺度，然後佢可以去做足嗰啲嘅研發咧？咁所以我相信呢個問題咧就係答咗咧就係阿 Rachel 嘅問題啦。咁都多謝咁多位嘅朋友嘅留言啦。咁跟住咧我哋亦都有其他嘅問題。We have some more questions from my other channels, and this is the question about McLaren, and it's from Yo Cyrus. So it's from Cyrus. I think he posted this question like an hour ago. What's wrong with McLaren, and how did well? I think yeah. What's wrong with McLaren, according to your understanding and saying?
Okay, so McLaren are in an unusual situation and quite a worrying one that they found themselves in. So during the winter, they started to develop the new car, and they decided that there wasn't enough performance in the direction that they were going. So they actually put that car into production ready for the first few races, and then immediately started on a different car concept, which we will see around the race at Baku. So it's about round 5 or 6, I think it is. So the car that we've seen from McLaren is not their best car. This is the best car that they had late last year. We won't see the best of McLaren until we reach what we call the European season at the Baku race. And we expect to see the car to look significantly different, both from the outside, but also under the skin as well. So big changes are expected. But for me, this is worrying because McLaren are a team that shouldn't be struggling in direction. They've been in the sport too long to have problems like this. So this is concerning.
Can I just follow up that question from Cyrus? Because it seems to me, as I'm doing the researching and stuff, it seems that similar thing is happening with Mercedes, because they claim they are going to have another version of the car in Baku. And according to the direct quote by Lewis Hamilton, he also said the current version of the car has seen a peak. And do you know if this is the case or anything?
I'm always wary of driver comments, because the drivers aren't the people that really understand the situation, even someone at the position of Lewis Hamilton. But Mercedes have often changed the concept through the year. They didn't last year, but in previous years it's been quite common. So it's not unusual, and I don't see the concept they've got is quite good. I think what we will see is an evolution of this concept. I don't think we're going to see them going to a conventional looking car. I think they're still going to be very unique in the way the car looks with the zero side pods. So I think that's the comment I think I probably need to make about that.
Thank you. I'll do that a little bit in brief in Cantonese. 即係話答翻咧就係Cyrus U 嘅問題先啦，就係麥拿倫究竟有啲咩問題啦？咁佢話最大問題咧，其實就係佢哋喺冬天原本就有一個嘅Christmas spec of car by McLaren，but 跟住之後佢哋發現咧呢一個聖誕新年嘅版本咧就唔多對路，同埋咧就係個 performance 會見到個 peak， 咁然後佢哋就轉咗去第二個設計，咁所以你而家見到嗰架車咧就係 MCL 60 is not really the best car， 就係唔係最好嗰架車嚟嘅。而係佢哋 the sort of the previous version, the best of the previous version, which is not very good anyway, according to Craig. 所以就係喺之前嗰個 version 嘅最好架車，即係唔係嘅最後一架車。咁然後即係而且經過咗 production 啊，咁呢個就係問題啦。佢produce 咗 spend 咗嗰個 arrow 落去 spend 咗啲錢落去，但係發現唔 work， 咁而家先至轉方向。咁但係同平治嗰個咧as for the Mercedes Grand Prix is a little bit different according to Craig。嚟緊嘅個 update 咧，應該佢相信咧都會係一個 zero pod 為主啦 ，zero pod based，but 但係佢哋嗰架車咧就會再進一步嘅進化咯。咁我諗呢個亦都多謝阿 Craig 係俾到我好多 insight 我哋。咁跟住咧亦都有另外一條問題咧 ，another question from John Ho， he has lots of questions okay, about fixing porpoising, can teams add something in the middle of the car floor to stop bottoming the car onto the ground? Anything, just crazy thoughts like skate blade or little wheels or whatever.
No, it's solving porpoising is a very complicated problem. There isn't an easy way of just sticking something underneath the car. And every team has a slightly different issue with porpoising. So porpoising basically is an imbalance between the aerodynamics and the suspension. So to fix porpoising, you need to fix both of those. And as we saw last year, other factors come into it, which is things like the flexibility of the floor, which was a big problem with Mercedes that requires added weight to solve. I think most teams now have solved the fundamental problem of porpoising. I don't think we will see it reappear this year on a regular basis, but I think there will be just occasions when a particular car setup and a particular track will create some porpoising. But I think the problem now is effectively solved from a broad perspective.
Craig 基本上咧就係話，基本上咧就係呢個海豚跳咧，其實已經咧解決咗噶啦。咁but according to your understanding, in what circumstances in 2023 in this year, the porpoising would actually pop its head again?
It will probably be at high downforce and very smooth circuits, because the teams will run the cars very, very low, very stiff, and that will bring all the aero surfaces into the position where they could start to fluctuate downforce, which is one of the ways of kicking off downforce.
Yeah, definitely. 咁我 follow up 問題就係問，咁究竟喺咩嘅場次當中你會見到咧？就係一啲高下壓力嘅賽道啦，兼且咧就係一啲好smooth 嘅賽道咧，就會再見翻咧，就係2023年嘅車咧係會再出現翻咧，就係海豚跳嘅嚇。咁我哋都有好多嘅問題 ，there are loads of questions and how much time do you have? I'll just be frank.
No, I was just looking at my battery, which was dipping down. I've got plenty of time. I just need to plug my device in. I was being a little bit lazy earlier.
All right. Okay. Because I also want to be fair. If at least
let's get as many.
Okay,
brilliant. We've got lots of time. Let's get as many questions as we can in. That's the great thing about
Thank you very much. And if you have time, you just check your WhatsApp, because I sent you the link to the YouTube so that you could actually see the questions or read the question when I'm doing translating. And maybe if you find some questions interesting, you could actually answer to them or to her, to him directly, so that I think they would be pretty honored. All right. So if you have the time, but I'll keep it on. 我哋而家繼續咧就係嘗試用雙語嚟到做一個嘅係廣播啊！我發現咧係有啲難度嘅，因為咧我睇到呢樣睇唔到嗰樣啦，記得呢樣亦都記唔到咧，就係另外一樣噶。咁我亦都喺 Patreon 嗰邊亦都有好多朋友咧就係用中文嚟問啊，咁啊下次咧希望大家嘗試咧就係用英文嚟到問咧就會好啲啊。咁we have a question from Samson Lee, and he said, we can see some interesting ring structures on the RB19's floor edge. How does Red Bull combine floor edge vortexes with the side pod undercut? How different is it from that of the W14 and AMR23?
So yes, this is a fairly complicated question. So Red Bull, every car, if you see the floor edge, the airflow comes up from under the floor and spins around and goes in between the rear wheels. This is what we call the floor edge vortex. It's very important to get that under control to get the best out of the car's performance. Most teams use the side pod to control this. Now Red Bull do it in a slightly different way. Red Bull have this floor edge vortex, but then just inside of it, you've got the big undercut on the side pod, and they run another vortex along it. So you've kind of got one running one direction, one running the other, and they drive each other. And it's a very clever way of managing airflow to the back of the car. If it works, it's great, but it is a very complicated thing to achieve. Obviously, Red Bull look like they've got it working. It's totally different to how Aston Martin are working their side pods. It's very different to what Ferrari and in particular Aston Martin are doing. So everyone has a different way of working that airflow. And for me, this is really fascinating because it means that we've got lots of cars that may at first look very similar, but actually work technically in quite different ways. So it just shows how early we are in these regulations and getting the best out of them.
Can I just follow up and ask about the vortexes by the Red Bull side? The different two different vortexes. The purpose of having two different vortexes should be to energize the flow, or what's the purpose?
Yeah. So when you've got one vortex, you want to make that vortex more powerful. So you can either push little airflows into it to kind of spin it up, almost like you're spinning a plate in the air. You just want to flick it faster, or you could treat them as they're spinning around, almost like gears. So you put another gear next to them, and that helps spin the pair of them together. So it's just different means of creating a more powerful vortex, which does lots of different things at the back of the car.
So the follow-up question would be, so the purpose of this is to energize or to make vortexes stronger, but at the end of the day, is it going to because I read like years ago, I think you first wrote about Y250, Y250 or whatever. These vortexes, the main purpose, okay, I asked about the purpose of the second vortexes, but what about the whole system of vortexes? What was it to divert the lower energy away, like outwash, or it's not?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, it's changed slightly because the way the regulations changed from the Y250 that you spoke about before, which was all about outwash. But in both cases, basically what you're doing is creating an airflow along the edge of the car that keeps the dirty air from the front tires away from the back of the car. And then because you've got an airflow, a powerful airflow going to the back of the car, it can then do things like manage the airflow in between the diffuser and the rear tires. So it's kind of difficult to do without drawings. But
yeah,
yes,
I understand. Probably I shouldn't follow up and ask. I should stop my follow-up questions now.
It's
So
like
I'll try to
barge board. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll try to simplify it and try to let the Cantonese audience knows about. Okay, the first question. In short, every team's their handling of the floor edge vortexes are different and unique, and this is fascinating to you because this is the early stage of the whole set of career of the regulations, and Red Bulls is very clever and unique in a way that there is a second vortex energizing the first one, and the whole thing is sort of in simplest term is to outwash, to divert the whatever out of the car. Okay, because I have to double confirm with you, and I don't want to make a wrong translation, right？以我嘅理解咧，其實就係就係正話呢一條問題過癮嘅地方咧，其實就係 Samson 呢問咗一條好好嘅問題啦，就係首先佢知道咗就係 Red Bull Floor 側跟嗰度咧，其實係有製造一啲嘅 vortex 喺度嘅。咁但係阿 Craig 能夠補充到嘅咧，就係嗰個 vortex 咧，每一個去處理嗰個車底，然後捲翻上嚟嘅氣流咧，大家嘅處理手法都唔同。而 Red Bull 而每一隊嘅處理手法咧都係 unique 嘅，亦都係獨特嘅。咁而阿 Craig 咧亦都覺得，由於每一隊 every team is unique 嘅話咧，其實佢就覺得咧係好 fascinating 啦。As an engineer, I think it must be great because everyone has a different method, but probably achieving the same perfect goal or the best goal. So that's something like blossoming, right？ 咁即係百花齊放啦，百花齊放。咁所以過癮嗰個地方咧就係咁啦。咁然後咧就第二樣嘢就係紅牛嗰個獨特嘅vortex 個漩渦咧 ，vortex 嘅漩渦咧係有第二條漩渦嘅，有一個大嘅漩渦，有另外一條細啲嘅漩渦。第二條嘅漩渦就係去令到第一條嘅漩渦加速，然後夾埋兩條嘅漩渦之後咧，就係去令到喺頭轆後邊嘅亂流咧，就係透過個漩渦咧就帶走咗，然後去咗個車嘅外邊，一啲冇用嘅氣流唔好黐喺自己屋企嗰度，垃圾抌出街就係咁樣咯。好啦，Brian 630 just hashtag thank you Craig and lots of people thanking you and yeah including Rick Zhang, Jasper Mock, Ken Chen, Asato Wong, 852 underscore everybody is everybody so 多謝大家繼續俾面啊。之後咧我哋有另外一條嘅問題咧可以喺度撳咗出嚟先嘅。I'll show it on the screen. So it's a question from Hin Gordon and he says he asked, hi Greg, AM are using Mercedes engine and is it already told us the zero port design is not working that well also? Yeah, so you see what he means.
Yes, yeah, okay. Yeah, whether you're using, I mean, it's good that they've got the same engine so we can compare them. But if you use that same analogy, we then look at Williams that are using the Mercedes engine with a conventional side pod and a very, very slow. So you can't really say it's just the concept. It's all about the detail of how they got that car set up. Now, Mercedes isn't working very well at the moment. I know that they have some technical problems behind the scenes, which are making their life a bit difficult as well, and has delayed their testing. So I expect the Mercedes will get faster and faster over these first races, even before the update comes. So I don't think there is anything fundamentally wrong with the Mercedes concept or the Mercedes engine, which a lot of people have kind of sort of pointed the finger at as well.
Thank you very much. Precise and concise. And 基本上咧，阿 Craig 咧都可以否定咗咧，就係究竟平治嘅引擎係咪有問題咧？佢認為平治嘅引擎唔係有問題啦。咁而亦都如果你話用翻平治用家嘅話，亦都可以比較翻 Williams 都係平治用家啦。咁然後佢係一個 standard traditional 嘅 sidepod 啦，跟住之後就係有 Aston Martin 啦，再加埋呢一個平治佢哋自己用嘅 zero pod 啦，或者係 no wash 咁樣啦。咁所以喺呢一個位置當中咧，其實就係唔可以用呢一個嘅方法去證明咧，就係而家Gordon Hinn 你所講個zero pod design is not working that well， 就呢一句係 yes and no 啦，即係係有啲問題。Well, can I just say it's a yes and no to that question? Zero pod design is not working that well because obviously it is not working as well as they think, but there is still potential, right?
I don't think it is the side pod that's the problem. Mercedes have got wider problems rather than just the side pod shape. So don't focus just on the side pods.
Understood. It's a holistic solution in Formula One engineering, right? Just like don't focus particularly on push rod or pull rod. 所以阿 Craig 嘅建議咧，俾翻大家咧就係唔好淨係 focus 喺一樣嘢嗰度咯，因為永遠都係喺一個 holistic 嘅 solution 咯。咁 side pod 係阿 Craig 唔認為係一個大問題嚟嘅，唔係個問題嘅核心咯。咁希望大家可以明白啦。咁至於咧就係there is another question from 年第一。And I think it's a he, I don't know. Are there any discussion in Formula One about bringing in more active aero?
Yes, that is part of the plan for 2026. It's still being discussed at the moment, but when the cars are going through the corners at the moment, you have all this downforce, which is fantastic, and that allows the cars to go very fast. But once you get onto the straight, all of that downforce and all of the cooling that you have built into the car for the engine and the brakes is actually slowing the car down. So what they plan to do for 2026 is on the straights, you will have your wings flatten a bit like DRS, but also the cooling ducts will close up and that will allow the car to go much faster and therefore in theory becomes more efficient and will use less fuel. So yes, that is very much the plan, but we don't know the exact detail at the moment.
Well, I'll just ask one follow-up question. How do they close up the cooling duct during the car in action? I'm just wondering.
So you would have a flap that would open out and close the duct, just like you have on aircraft. And even lots of road cars. I mean, I know even the Ford Focus has a front grille that closes up and reduces drag in a straight line. So yeah, it's fairly common technology.
Yeah. 好啦，咁正話呢位朋友咧就係問翻咧，就係究竟去到2026年嘅時候會係點咧？咁如果你話 active aero 咧，其實以前 autosport.com 啊、motorsport.com 其實都有報導過嘅。I'm just telling them there were some pieces on autosport.com covering 2026 active aero.
Don't listen to that. That's all rubbish.
OK， 咁佢阿 Craig 一直叫我哋
quote me on that as well.
OK， 咁大家咧就可以 quote 翻 Craig 就係話唔好睇啦，唔好睇嗰啲嘅報導啊。咁之後同你講就係即係2026年嘅時候咧就會係有呢一個 active aero 就上場啦。咁簡單講就係啲 aero 可以做得好靚嘅，咁然後就喺賽道上邊跟住架車行得好快啦。咁但係當你一架跟一架嘅時候咧就開始有 drag 啦，然後就諸如此類有啲氣流落咗你架車度啦。咁而家嗰個後車個 active aero 咧就會係嗰個翼會有一啲嘅變動啦。同埋關鍵嗰個位置係咩咧？關鍵就係個 cooling duct 咧可以咧就係閂埋咗，咁閂埋咗之後就令到嗰架車嘅氣流受影響會減到最少咯，或者減低咗。咁呢個就係所謂嗰個 active aero 咯。But the essence is everything is still in discussion and nothing has been set in stone so far.
Right.
Is there a timeline? 有冇時間嘅 ？Is there a timeline for them to set the rules for 2026?
I think we will probably have an idea of what the plan would be towards the end of this year, going into next year, because then that gives the teams about 2 years of development time before the season.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, 2024 and 2025 do it. 之後問嘅就係個 timeline 啦。咁今年年尾咧就會係定嘅。咁等其他嘅車隊咧有2年嘅時間啦，2024啦同埋2025年咧可以去 match 2026嗰個嘅 total new rules 㗎。We've got another question from Wang K Kim Kwong. He said, well, I'll just ask, well, It's Kim, okay? It's Kim. A question
Yep.
from Kim. And hello, Craig. I want to ask to what extent how those tiny fins on the front wings of Ferrari can improve the steering in corners. Seems Ferrari is not quite stable in the corners.
Okay, that's interesting observation. The fins on the Ferrari front wing, which are very similar to the ones that Mercedes tried to run last year, I don't think they're adding to any instability in the car. I don't think they're not affecting the steering because that's not what they're there for. But the Ferrari is unstable, and we did see that last year. Ferrari's car is set up very stiff, and it's very sensitive to bumps. It's set up to be quite low to the ground as well. So I just think the Ferrari is just a little bit of a handful because it doesn't deal with the track and the curbs very well. And I don't think it's aerodynamics like a feature like that.
Thank you very much. I'll just answer in short Cantonese。基本上咧就係法拉利架車咧，喺彎裏邊唔 stable 咧係嘅。咁但係Craig嘅解讀咧就係基本上同你正話見到嗰啲 tiny fin 真係冇關嘅。咁因為舊年嘅車佢哋 set 得比較硬啦，變咗咧就係喺擒搏嘅時候出現咗問題啦。咁所以呢個先至係佢哋真正嘅問題要去解決咯。So from your, it's a follow-up question. I mean, from me to Kim's question. So what is their problem over the curb and during, because we also see that during the Bahrain Grand Prix, right? Throughout Grand Prix and throughout the testing. So what exactly is the problem that they haven't been able to solve? 究竟有啲咩問題佢哋係解決唔到嘅咧？
Well, I think Ferrari are running the car much lower this year, and they've set the suspension to be much stiffer. So it's just the same as, you know, in a road car. If your suspension's stiff and you've lowered it, you're going to be hitting speed bumps, and the car's just going to jump around a lot more. Carlos struggles to cope with that. Charles Leclerc is a little bit better, but it's just that the car is just too stiff, really, and they will need to learn how to soften it up without losing aero performance as the season goes on.
Yeah, that's pretty much some sort of, I know it's different degree, but it's just like the general problem of Mercedes, right? If they raise the whole thing, then it should be solved. But last year, I mean，咁所以呢阿 Craig 正話都補充翻啦，法拉利今年遇到個問題就係佢哋架車撈低咗啦，避震 set 硬咗啦，然後希望令到嗰個氣動力平台成個 aerodynamic platform 可以做得好啲啦。咁但係跟住佢哋嘅 trade off 咧就出現咗而家呢咁嘅情況啦，所以你見佢喺彎裏邊嗰個表現咧就唔係太過理想咯。咁啊and Kim also said thank you to you answering his question. I have an thanks for your time. It's just great. I'll just explain a bit to my audience how did we met? How did we meet?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time that we meet, Craig?
It was the Hong Kong E-Prix, I remember, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was I forgot it's the second or first version it should be. 其實我同阿 Craig 咧就
I think it was the first one. Yes,
yeah, it should be.
Yeah,
it should be the
yes,
it should
because I went to two, so.
All right, yeah, and then the next year I also came back to you and then say hi, but we never had the chance to go grab a drink, so we should do it sometime, eh?
No, yes, no, definitely. I'd love to come back to Hong Kong, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Go because you're on the South Coast. Sorry, yes, yeah. we can do both. We can do both.
We can do both. Yeah, no worries. I'll do that bit a little bit in Cantonese. 因為其實阿 Craig 咧，我就睇佢嗰個嘅 blog 咧，睇咗好多年㗎啦。咁I also told you that I usually have to read like 3 to 5 times to understand 50% of it. I mean your blog, because I'm not that really talented in technical side. So 我當時都有咁樣話俾佢知嘅，佢個 blog 咧啲文章我可能都要睇3至5次啦，咁我先至可以明白到 50%， 明白到一半嘅啫。咁第一次見佢咧，其實就係喺 Formula E 嗰個 paddock 入邊，咁跟住之後就 keep 咗聯絡啦。咁隔咗咁多年之後，咁當然啦，亦都即係大家有喺唔同嘅場次見過面咯。There are more questions from the floor. And hang on, Mercedes, Ferrari. Okay, which we haven't. We just talked about Ferrari, and okay, I'll do this question because this person hasn't really. I haven't raised his question yet. It's from KNK. The question is, hello, Craig. I noticed actually Mercedes did improve throughout the weekend. What are they really missing compared to Ferrari and Red Bull?
I wish I knew is the answer.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I usually answer as well.
Yes. Mercedes, they've had a very difficult testing period. They've had mechanical problems with the cars, and that's delayed them. They've also been waiting for the new rear wing that's come on the car. So I think what it is Mercedes now are just kind of catching up with their slow start, which is why we see so much improvement. And they're starting to understand the car. Looking at it, I think the Mercedes now has got quite good straight line speed, so it just probably just needs a bit more performance in the corners. And I think the big question will be is how well, I mean, it will be the question for lots of teams, is how well they will be able to use their tyres in the race. Because we saw last year the Mercedes weren't very fast in qualifying or on a single lap at any point, but had great race performance. I think this is what we will see tomorrow with Ferrari and potentially with Aston Martin, but maybe not with Ferrari. And I think Red Bull should be okay. So I think the qualifying performance will look very different to what we see as a race performance tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks for the great answer because you have also given a preview to the race tomorrow.咁啊，KNK 嘅問題咧就係問翻咧，其實佢就發現平治係進步咗嘅，咁究竟仲爭啲咩嘢咧？咁Craig 正話簡單講啦，其實就係唔好忘記咧，其實平治喺舊年咧，佢哋嗰個排位嘅表現都唔係特別好嘅。Mercedes didn't really qualify that well last year, but the tyre performance on Sunday long run were always better. I like that. 咁阿 Craig 你都預計咧就係聽日嘅時候咧。平治嗰個嘅 race pace 咧會係上翻去啦，咁與此同時咧就係 Aston Martin 嘅 race pace 咧亦都會上嘅，但係問題就係法拉利啦 ，Ferrari may be down here, nobody knows because every one of us also mentioned and noticed how they sort of struggle through the corners。呢個就係喺法拉利聽日嗰個嘅 race pace 究竟得唔得啦 ？And another point I would just like to chip in is that how is the strategy execution tomorrow? Because they have just changed their head of strategy, right? In that, that's anybody's guess, right? What's yours?
Yes. All I can say is that how we saw Ferrari behave during qualifying with that problem with Leclerc, we had obviously problems. James Vowell's gone from Mercedes. Red Bull are quite stable. Aston Martin have always been very good with race strategy. So yeah, it's we're learning. We can't. There's some things we can't predict, and some things we're going to need to see over a few races to learn how teams focus. So I think Mercedes should still be good because of the way they organise themselves. Ferrari, a very difficult question. Aston Martin should be good because I see no change in the structure of that team from that side of things. And same with Red Bull. It's we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we always have Hannah Schmidt behind the scene and managing everything. And the sad thing about Aston Martin is Bernie Collins left the team like during the summer, and obviously that may have led to some changes within their organizations. I'll just round up your answers in Cantonese. 佢正話就用咗一個宏觀嘅角度啦，用咗一個 macro 嘅角度咧，然後佢講翻咧就係四大車隊啦 ，the big four teams in strategy side 就 Aston Martin 啦 ，Aston Martin 我正話補充翻就係 Bernie Collins 就離開咗佢嘅車隊啦，咁但係佢哋嗰個有一個傳統喺度，個 strategy 係 OK 嘅。咁法拉利炒咗嗰個嘅舊嘅阿 head 啦 ，Inaki 啦，咁而家換咗一個咧就係30歲嘅牛津嘅碩士高材生嚟到揸莊嘅 ，Yeah, sure, no worries。咁跟住之後咧，就輪到再去嘅時候咧，就係平治嘅 James Vowles 走咗啦。咁但係平治嘅 James Vowles 走咗咧，其實我自己嘅判斷咧，就應該唔會對佢哋嗰個策略部門有太大影響，因為Toto 咧亦都有講係9個人去負責。咁舊年其實 James Vowles 都已經冇飛啦，咁所以變咗其實咧，你拆嚟拆去嘅話咧，其實就係 Red Bull 依然喺上邊啦。咁而平治冇乜大嘅改變之下，而家最大嘅隱憂就係法拉利咯。So I'm just rounding up the answer that you just mentioned. You generally talk about the time time management on Sunday, and Ferrari that should be a bigger question mark among the top four, and the strategy side execution you can tell from the qualifying 喺排位都已經見到啦，佢哋嗰個嘅 execution 係出現咗一啲事情㗎啦，咁去到比賽更大壓力嘅時候會點啦 ？So in the race when the stake is high and the pressure is high, so how is the Ferrari team and crew is going to respond? And I think it's just like Helmut Marko said, he put Mercedes over Ferrari in that sense, just because of the 8-time world champions experience, right? And David Lai, I think probably I'm going to end this session. Thank you for your time, Craig. This is the last question because I would love you to come back to the show next time, so I don't want to use my quota at once. We still have like 1,500 people watching concurrently live here. The last question that I would take from the floor to Craig is from David Lai. Hi, Craig. What is your preview on tomorrow's race?
I think it's a big question, and I wish I could predict it. I think Red Bull are looking very good. I think we've got to be looking at a Red Bull victory. I have concerns about how good Ferrari will be with their tyres through the race, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Ferraris drop back. And then the question is, how good are Mercedes and in particular Aston Martin with Alonso? They look very good on long runs, Aston Martin. We know that they pull out a good strategy. They know they're a team that think about their races probably more than many other teams do. You know, all of their great strategies they've run in the past, as Force India and other names. So yeah, I think probably the only thing is that we will see Mercedes and Alonso move up, Ferrari move down, and Red Bull at the front. And the midfield is just going to be, we're going to see some amazing battles tomorrow in the midfield. It's going to be good. It's going to be an exciting race.
Well, I'll do the Canto translation later. I don't want to drag you on more. Probably you'll have to stay with your family and enjoy the Saturday and the weekend. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your insights, and thanks for your quick answers. I learned a lot. I hope my audience also learned a lot. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I hope we are going to see you next time on this feed or on your channels or whatever. All right. Thank you, Craig.
Let's do this a lot more. Great fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Cheers. Bye-bye. 咁我哋咧就終於做完啦，我人生第一次咧喺自己嗰個嘅feed 入邊啦。我而家就轉唔到台，我而家都錄個 message 啦，然後多謝翻佢先。Well, Craig, I'm still on my own live, but thank you very much. Thanks for your time again. Yeah, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I'll catch up with you later. Cheers. 係啦，多謝大家啦，Jenny Dan 咧就辛苦晒啦，至於 Alpha Wong 咧亦都就 thank you Craig 啦，跟住咧 Alex Wong 咧就話喂點啊，其實就我相信咧，我正話都唔能夠完全吸收晒咧，就係 Craig 所講嘅嘢嘅，咁如果中間有啲翻譯係錯咗嘅話咧，咁對唔住啦，即係我同大家講聲唔好意思先啦，咁我其實就識少少，但係就從來都唔希望扮代表，咁所以如果我真係講錯咗嘅話咧，咁希望大家多多包涵，咁同埋由於呢一條 feed 都好珍貴啦，咁所以我翻去自己都會再聽多次嘅，由頭聽多次。確保咧就係可以將一啲有用嘅袋落袋啦，然後聽日咧就喺翻638 Now 嗰度咧就係同大家咧就係去見面啊。至於咧就 Hin Gordon 咧就話好正嘅一個 live 啊。至於 Wayne Law 咧亦都話勁啦。至於咧 Thomas Chan 咧亦都咧就多謝所有人。就辛苦晒啦。超勁兩邊 language 咧係咁轉啊。至於阿 Hill 咧就話雙語太強啦，我覺得 yes and no 啦，即係我都覺得有啲位係未 get 得晒，因為其實難就難在佢講嗰啲係 technical 嘢啦。咁 technical 嘢嘅話有啲係我盲點嚟嘅。但係亦都有啲係 我嘅特別強嘅地方，譬如好似 Aero 嗰啲，咁我聽基本上我可以有 follow up question 啊，咁然後可以再 drill 多啲啊，然後我用我簡單嘅廣東話方法咧，然後話翻俾大家知三言兩語，希望可以話到俾大家知就係阿 Craig 講咗啲咩嘢咯。咁我亦都盡量做翻一個即係偽新聞工作者應該做嘅嘢啦，就係因為我唔係最熟嗰個啦，咁佢先係真正嘅專家啦，咁所以我就 verify 翻佢嗰個 version，然後同大家講。咁但係中間總會有得漏嘅，一定㗎啦。咁所以就如果有得漏嘅話，希望大家多多包涵啦喺條 fit 度。咁啊，跟住咧亦都咧就係有呢一個嘅黃色嘅課金啊，咁啊就係 Lloyd Kit Leung。咁我哋就正話有接近1000人睇啦，咁啊而家繼續咧都依然有1300人睇啊。咁啊 Candy Fly 咁啊專業人士咧真係咧就唔同啲啦，學到嘢辛苦晒。咁啊專業人士就係阿 Craig 啦，咁啊始終佢係 F1TV 嘅技術分析師。咁啊其實咧佢哋團隊都仲有好多人嘅，咁只要將來有機會嘅話咧，我亦都會用我嘅綿力啦，咁啊就係希望將佢哋嘅技術團隊入邊嘅人咧，就帶到嚟喺我哋呢一個 YouTube 嘅世界當中。咁咧，亦都可以再聽下咧，就係佢哋喺現場聽到嘅嘢啦、見到嘅嘢啦，將佢哋嘅知識咧，就係同大家一齊分享啊。咁啊，所以就好多謝大家今日俾面啊，同埋捧場。咁啊，正話就係擺咗邊個嘅 message 啊？多謝 Like It Leung 嘅黃色課金，係啦，跟住亦都多謝咧，就係 William Liu 嘅又上咗一堂。咁啊，Michael Wong 咧就話正啊，咁啊期待咧下次另一位嘉賓啊，係啊，要撲㗎，嘉賓呢啲真係要碌卡㗎。咁啊，但係就我都係嗰句啦，我自己做得好開心啦。最緊要就係你哋學到嘢啊，從佢把口學到嘢，亦都我又學到嘢啊，咁就開心死啦。咁啊，跟住咧亦都就多謝阿 Tommy Lau 啦。另外咧就係一個橙色嘅課金係喎，辛苦晒，快啲飲水。係，我都其實冇買到水，結果就喺 studio 呢一度咧，就只不過係買一支汽水。唉死啊，又變翻肥仔遲啲。好，拍咗佢先，咁啊 OK 啦，咁啊同埋就正話有個驚險嘅，即係驚險就話有啲嘢要解決，所以我即刻叫咗阿 Craig 入嚟嘅其中原因咧就係我 book 個 studio 咧。就係夠鐘，跟住佢 message 我，喂，你夠鐘咯，你要走噶咯，跟住我唔係話阿 Craig 都未有嚟，跟住我要走啊，shit 咁啊，跟住即刻就喺度撳，然後咧又再咧就係然後咧就再 book 多1個鐘啊，咁啊跟住之後咧就係有 Lilian 鐘喺度啦，咁啊跟住之後咧就 Apex Chan 咧就話連專家都唔睇好法拉利啦，咁啊都多謝你嘅留言啊，咁啊跟住之後咧就亦都有朋友咧就係話阿 Victor 妹咁啊就話有機會啊揾爆炸頭啊 Sam Collins 埋嚟，咁啊好啊 OK 啊，咁啊我亦都可以問下佢嘅，咁啊至於咧就阿 KNK 央咧就話呢度冇啊，我撳唔到啊，有我都係咁 Coke Zero 嘅，通常都唔會飲全糖嘅。嗱嚟到最尾咧，我想同大家講，除咗咧即係一啲嘅。喺度做緊賽車新聞工作嘅人咧，咁大家留意住我嘅頻道啦。咁啊，無論係喺 YouTube at Dan on the Move 啦，定係呢個 Patreon at Dan on the Move 咧，咁啊慢慢咧開始咧都會有一啲驚喜啊，陸續咧就係俾大家嘅。咁啊，其實就呢排知道咗好多嘢啦，不過就勒住唔講啊。咁啊，要等我到時一嚟嘅時候，跟住就嚇一嚇大家啦。希望大家滿意啦嚇。咁啊，跟住之後咧就如果你話香港人啊，我都見到啦。咁啊，Ken Chan 就話幾時請阿 Anissa 嚟傾偈啊？喂，咁都要阿 Anissa 得閒先得噶嘛。咁啊，Anissa 呢一個星期咧就喺巴林啊。咁啊，亦都就順便講啦。咁啊，除咗 Anissa 喺 F1 車隊之外咧，其實以我所知啊，喺香港咧香港人喺一級方程式工作咧，其實係好多噶。咁啊大家知嘅就當然係 Anissa 啦，咁喺 Alpine 啦，跟住做 partnership 嘅工作啦，咪都有好多嘅報道啦。以往喺 AlphaTauri 啦，咁但係咧以我嘅理解咧，基本上咧有一半嘅車隊其實都有香港人喺度做緊嘢嘅，咁而大部分嘅咧都係工程師嚟㗎啊。大部分都係工程師嚟嘅，咁啊好過癮嘅，咁啊人數方面咧，亦都會比大家嘅想像預期為多。咁究竟有幾多咧？咁我就喺度賣個關子。咁啊下個禮拜咧就喺 Patreon at Dan on the Move 嗰度咧就話俾大家知啦。咁啊慢慢咧喺唔同嘅渠道咧，大家都應該可以會見到更加多噶啦。OK。咁啊，跟住咧 Aiden33 咁啊就問咧係唔係做 B in 係唔 係做 B in 做 F1TV 嘅旁述啦咁樣。咁啊跟住之後咧就唔係，我繼續咧就係幫緊 R638啦，然後咧就係做評述。咁聽日咧正式比賽都係11點鐘，咁啊就會係做呢一個嘅賽事嘅評述。咁啊完咗賽事評述之後咧嘅吹水站咧就會去咗 Patreon Dan on the Move 嘅。咁啊 Patreon Dan on the Move 咧就 TR1 嘅朋友咧都已經可以睇到吹水站啦。咁啊同埋咧就係 podcast 啊，咁啊呢個深戰室 podcast。咁啊而 Tier2 嘅朋友咧就可以睇好多嘅和你 live 啦、Danflix 啦。Danflix 咧就係 Netflix DTS 嘅導賞節目。咁啊最新一季咧Tier2 就可以睇到噶啦。咁如果你話要睇翻 archive 嘅話咧，咁就要 Tier3 或者以上先可以睇翻 Danflix。咁啊逐月俾都得嘅。咁因為其實你俾1個月嘅話，就已經睇晒之前3季嘅啦嘛。因為我 DTS 嘅第2季、第3季同第4季其實都有做 Danflix 嘅。咁啊而家咧就做緊第5季。咁啊下個禮拜咧亦都會開始翻咧就係 DTS 去到第5季嘅導賞節目。咁啊就係 Danflix 啊。咁啊希望同大家睇第4集、第5集、第6集，大概係咁樣啦。希望可以追得翻晒啦。咁啊跟住之後咧就QQ 咁亦都話嗱聲啊，就快脆訂 Patreon。喂，多謝你啊。咁啊至於咧就係有人話 cut 我把聲，係啊。因為其實應該可能你平時咧，Eddie，如果你睇 BN 嘅其他節目咧，有時佢哋嗰個都會係咁嘅，佢唔係特登 cut 我把聲，而係我相信唔係啦嚇。咁啊，而係咩咧？就係而係佢嗰個 worldwide 嗰個 programming 啊，節目嘅 programming 咧，就同 local 嗰個係獨立運作啊。咁變咗咧，其實就 local 可能處理聲音嗰班手足咧，其實都唔知佢 global 嗰個 programming 係點樣去咁啊。突然之間話完就完，可能係咁樣咯。因為我都聽唔到嗰邊有 Q 嘅。咁啊，至於咧就係 Mr. Yip 咁啊，就係聽日咧就有丹尼爾正啦。咁啊，跟住之後咧，亦都咧就係 KCY 重複翻啦。頭先係 Craig 提到今年仲要改例取消 brake pad 嗰啲窿啦，令到散熱變難啦。咁啊，但係基於乜嘢咧係要咁樣改咧？咁啊，呢個 KCY 嘅問題係一個好好嘅問題啊。咁啊，我哋就首先要去再研究一下。咁啊，跟住之後咧就 Victor 妹咧就可否幫忙 confirm 多一次咧？今年修改嘅賽例係邊個部分唔可以有通風嘅窿咧？咁啊，跟住之後咧，咁啊佢可能 brake disc 咁啊 OK 啊，可以啊 Victor 妹收到，咁我去再搞佢啦嚇。咁啊呢一個嘅有可能咧，以我理解，可能係俾啲皮上邊嗰啲嘅位置嚇，就唔係真係嗰個皮咯嚇，唔係真係個皮。我可以去 double check，OK 冇問題。咁我都會再問一問佢嘅。咁啊，跟住咧就留意下大家嘅問題啦。咁啊，跟住之後就Chi Wang Chen 咁啊，可唔可以問下剛才侃爺同陸克萊最後嘅時候留喺個 pit 度唔出嚟，係收收埋埋舉白旗定係排位真係冇以前咁重要？唔會因為冇以前咁重要而唔排位嘅。我相信其中我未知啊，我真係唔知，對唔住，我唔想亂講，我真係唔知。但係我唔想亂講，但係又想講直覺喎，咁不如唔好講啦，好嘛？係啦，但係應該係已經，我會話佢哋可以用嘅胎已經用完咯，要留翻一啲，即係佢哋可以用嘅胎，根據嗰個車胎嘅戰術，佢哋已經做完佢哋要做嘅嘢咯，尤其是即係陸克萊，所以佢咁早起身係其中一個原因咯。咁啊好啦，咁啊跟住啦。今日嘅時間差唔多啦，咁啊多謝大家收睇呢一條 feed 啦，咁啊呢條 feed 咧都同大家玩咗咧就係個零鐘頭啊，咁啊今日亦都有嘉賓啦，咁啊請咗咧就係 Craig Scarborough 啦，咁啊你哋就提出嗰部分都多謝你嘅，咁啊所以其實就因為就兵荒馬亂之際啦，咁我亦都就可能講得唔夠仔細啦，咁所以你哋就係嗰個問題，我翻去就都會將今集再重新聽一次，咁然後有啲咩嘢唔明嘅，我會再問翻阿 Craig 啦，或者問翻阿 Sam 啦，咁大家咁啊一齊繼續努力啦，咁啊聽日就喺2300嘅時候咧，就同大家見面。咁啊完咗咧之後大概半個鐘within 半個鐘啦，因為完咗個 show 之後咧，我仲要幫手就係同阿營安幫一齊咧，然後錄翻嗰個嘅 highlight 嘅。咁所以通常點解要等一陣，跟住先至可以開到 live 咧，就係咁解咯。咁所以希望大家就有怪莫怪，咁啊俾少少耐性。咁啊而聽日嗰個和你 live 嘅節目咧，亦對唔住嗰個嘅吹水站嘅節目咧，亦都係喺Crowdcast 嘅 version 2嘅。咁變咗到時咧就係同大家喺 version 2嘅 Crowdcast 咧再見面啦。OK，咁啊多謝大家今日收睇啦。咁啊拜拜 Michael Wong，拜拜 Terry，拜拜 Tell MC MAC。咁啊亦都咧仲有其他人。好啊，咁啊希望大家今日睇得開心，玩得放心，同埋係學得過癮啦。拜拜。